you. You're my provider, my healer, protector, lover of my soul, redeemer, my anchor in the storm. Everything is you, Jesus. You're everything. Everything is you, Jesus. You're everything. Everything is you. That is why my worship is to you. Everything is you. That is why my worship is to you. Everything is you.
I bless the name of the Lord for this wonderful opportunity to have Jesus on the inside of me. Friends,
Praise
there is
God,
no other thing that
hallelujah.
matters
Praise
in this
God.
life.
Good
What is
evening
the
to
most
all of
important thing
us
for you is to be sure that Jesus
in
dwells
Africa,
right on
in
the
Europe,
inside.
in Asia, and other parts of the continents of the world. And good afternoon to those in America, and in fact, good morning to some parts of the United States. I want to use this moment to welcome you on this very special occasion. This special occasion, I am very much aware that this is a weekend, and weekends are always moments of great activities. Many people have many things going on at the same time, and you cannot undermine people's um, programs and all of that. And I thank those of you that still keep faith with us. For those of you who are watching us on Facebook, I welcome you around the world. The Lord bless you for joining me today. Praise Jesus. I want you to know that every Saturday I made up my mind to discuss on something very, very practical, something very, very important, something very, very real, something very, very challenging. And I know that sometimes many people don't understand my stand, may feel, why is he saying this? Well, I believe that the Church of Jesus Christ is the voice upon which we hear today, God's voice on earth. No matter how people today feel the church is doing this, the church doing that, Jesus said, I will build my church, and the gate of hell shall not prevail against the Church of Jesus Christ. So I stand by the church. I stand with the church because I am the church. That is a serious statement I've just made. I am the church. You are the church. Because if you are the temple of the living God, then you are the church. Jesus lives and dwells on the inside of every one of us. When you have given your life to Jesus, he lives and dwells on the inside of you. So I am the church. It is not until I go to some building, it is not until I am there, then you can then think that, oh, I am in church. No, I'm in church. I'm in church right now. I am the church. I am in church, and the Church of Jesus Christ is up and running. So I want to welcome every one of you. God bless you for joining me today. I know that there are so many of you that are still out there planning to but I want to welcome you very specifically for today. I am the church. You are the church. When anything happens in the world, it is very easy for us to lay blames. We lay blames on other people. We lay blames on those that are not with us. We lay blames on those that did not join us. I would like to say at the beginning of this very moment that don't expect everybody to accept your position. Don't. That is a big mistake that many leaders make. They believe that everybody should clap hands for them, everybody should agree with them, everybody should say, oh, you are the best. No, that is not leadership. Leadership is ability to handle both those who agree with you and those who disagree with you. And many times, many people will disagree with you. For you to always come up with something does not mean that you are always correct. And for people to always disagree with you does not mean that they are always correct. Sometimes you may be wrong as a leader. That is why you need to have lieutenants who will tell you the truth, not people that will come and try to be sycophantic. Those who want to kind of continue to buy favor just because of their stomach. I'm referring to today as Christians standing up, claiming their own position and putting a stake on, because you need to understand that until Christians speak up, until Christians stand up, until Christians take their place, then they have no right whatsoever to blame whatever happens in their society, in their countries, in their counties, or in their local government areas. You have no right whatsoever, because the question is, what did you do? Many people can claim one thing, one right or the other, but I can say to you that anytime we step out, anytime we step into an arena of this nature, we must be very, very practical. We must be prepared to do what is right, say the truth, and then whatever consequences come as a result of you speaking the truth, you must also be prepared to accept it. So I welcome you once again to today. Today is Saturday, and the last Saturday in the month of November. The month of November reminds me of my wife's birthday, and I still want to say shout out to my wife and all those who were born in November. Very wonderful people were born in November. I appreciate them so very much. So God bless you all in Jesus' name. As a child of God, and one that I believe God has given me a responsibility in my time and in my day, I want to tell the Church of Jesus Christ never to give up hope. You know, there are many things that we believe God for. Most of those things don't happen overnight. Sometimes it will take time to realize the things that we believe God for. I could want to go back in time and think about Martin Luther King Jr. He was a pastor of one church in Alabama, in the United States of America. He was born into oppression. He was born into a season where there were schools. As a black man, you would never attend. There were buses that as a black man, you would never board that very bus. There were buses that if you should board, you have to stay behind. And they would put a big demarcation between from rule 1 to maybe rule 10 or 15. Whether somebody occupies it or not, you would never go there. There were some shops that as a black man, you would never go there and buy anything, no matter how much you have. There were parks that you can never go to either exercise or just sit and receive fresh air as a black man. Because in those days, they considered that the black person was a slave and must maintain his slavery position and disposition. He should never have the right to go anywhere outside of where they want them to be. And so they decided where they should worship, where they should go, where they should have houses, where they cannot live. I mean, I've been in the United States where you go to some places, and before you know it, the police car is behind you with the flash, and then they will make you to stop, and they ask you where you're going to, because they think that you have missed your way for coming into this neighborhood. I mean, up to today, there are still places like that. But you see, it was very bad in the days of Martin Luther King Jr. And so Martin Luther King Jr. had to stand up and fight against that very situation. Oh, before him, Malcolm X and others that fought in that category. And they said, look, you cannot stop us from, having the liberty of being anywhere at any given point in time. Yes, our parents might have been slaves into this place, but we were born here. And we have free sons and daughters. Many women led a group or groups. Many lost their lives. Many people were not able to, come out openly. Those who came out, that was the last. I could remember one of the movies. Somebody acted where he had to kiss his wife for the last time, kiss his children, went to meet with his parents, kissed them for the last time, and said, as I'm going, I don't know if I'm coming back. This may be my last time of you seeing me, or you seeing me, or me seeing you. So when he left, in actual fact, it was among those that was apprehended, and at the end, he was locked up, and at the end, he died. So when I'm talking today, I know what I'm talking about. And sometimes many Christians don't want to listen. The problem is that when you don't want to listen about something because you think you have already known what I'm about to say, you are losing a lot. There's nothing wrong about you having information, whether you use it or not, but have information that can help to inform you about issues, situations, and circumstances. I would bring you statistics every Saturday about what is going on in other nations and in our nation also, in America or in Nigeria or in every place that you may be finding yourself as a Christian. Christians do believe that leadership or governance or government is something that should be left to the world because it is part of the system of the world, or we do not belong to this world. We are just passing through this world. But I've asked the question, if we are only just passing through and we do not belong, why do we have to still stay here? After you've been born again, you've given your life to Jesus, the next thing for you was to leave this earth realm. But you see, when you go back from the book of Genesis, God created the world for his sons. When he created this world, he created it for his own sons and daughters and their seed. He created the world for himself and for his children. That was why when you look into the book of Genesis, you're reading it very carefully. Every day God was creating something, and at the last day, which was the sixth day, God made man in his own image. So we see the image of God being made and being put in the garden. And what did God say to the man? Dress the garden and keep it. What was the garden? The world that the man lived in. Man who was made in God's own image, who was in God's own likeness, was the one to take charge. That is why God now said, dominate, rule, take care, replenish. So man had both prophetic and apostolic grace. It was prophetic in nature because the life of Christ, the love of God, the life of God was in him to recreate, to populate the earth. And it was apostolic in nature because he was able to transplant whatever thing that he was able to come in by inspiration, affect the whole earth realm. So this earth belongs to the church. This earth belongs to believers. This earth belongs to us. And I challenge you, wherever you are, this earth that you are seeing today, if you read the Bible very carefully and if you study the Bible very carefully, you will realize that this earth is a place you will always come back to, even after you have died. Because he will renew the face of the earth. He will transform this earth once again, that even when you are being raptured, for those of us who believe in rapture, you are still coming back here to this earth. Rapture is not a permanent place. Being raptured into the heavens is not a permanent place. You are only being taken there on a moment of enjoyment while things on this earth is still being worked upon. Then you are returned back. The book of Revelation now says, and I saw a new heaven and a new earth coming down from the presence of God. So this earth shall be renewed. So when God has given you a place, is giving it to you because it is yours. The earth is yours. The Bible said the heavens is of the Lord, but the earth has he given to the sons of man. He has given you this earth, but what have you done with it? What have you done with the earth that God has given to you? What have you done with this earth that God has put you as an overseer? That is why you have where to go and plant. You have farmlands. You have great portions. For those of you that have a lot of land mass, God gave it to you. You have built your house. If you have not as yet, you will. So while I'm saying this, for those of you on radio, tell others to listen to your brother CLETUS BASSEY. And for those of you who are watching me, I want you to, click the button, share it, and tell others to join me as I am asking Christians to stand up and raise their stake in the wall that God has given to them. I bring you the prayer of Jesus Christ in the book of John chapter 17. He said, Father, I am not praying that you should take them away from this earth, but that you should keep them. Why has he asked the Father to keep us on this earth? Because we still have to be witnesses. He said, you are the light of the world, not the light of heaven. No, you are the light of this world. And he said, you are the salt of this earth. That is what Jesus said. And if you are believing in the words of Jesus, then you must believe in everything that he has said. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. This earth has he given to you and I. And so the challenge that I have seen over the years, and I can tell you that I am not a young man. I've been here for a while. Yes, I'm young at heart. I'm still young looking, but I can say that many years have passed over me and I've gone through many years. And what I've seen, and it is very sad, that Christians, believers, over the years have preached and have carried the notion, this world is not my home. I'm just passing by or passing through. Yes, you will die one day, that is understood. You will leave this earth one day. But I promise you, you are coming back. You will come back to this earth to rule and reign with Jesus Christ. In the millennial season of which Christ will rule and reign on this earth, you will come back. You will rule and reign, because both the dead and the living, they shall all come back. And this earth shall be renewed. And I need for you to know that it is better that you have understanding of establishing the principles of God's kingdom. Establishing the principles of God's kingdom on this earth realm, so that we can live peaceably. I started by showing us in the book of Romans, where God said to us that every government is of God. And so you must have to submit to every government. Because if you do not submit to them, he said the rod in the hand is not for fun. He said he will use it. He will execute judgment. And we have seen how many governments in the world today have executed judgment. And most of the judgment that they have executed These judgments are against the church, against God's people. You cannot go to some countries today to preach. You cannot tell them, I'm coming here to preach. You cannot go with a flyer for crusades. You cannot go for revival flyer. They will jail you. They will take away your Bible. And that is the end of the story. You may rot in that jail. There are nations that today you cannot be free in preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ. Why? Because of the kind of the government that exists in that country. Why would that happen to us? And we said that, oh, we believers, we rule and reign. Where are you ruling? Where are you reigning? In what form and manner can you tell me that you are ruling and you are reigning when you cannot have any, say in the policies that go on in your nation or in your state, or even in your own very village or community where you live in? How do you say you are ruling and reigning when you don't even know anything about the constitution of your country? You don't know your right. You don't know your left from your right. You are just existing. People who are studying come to rule over you. Those who know are ruling over you. Oh, the scripture in the book of Ecclesiastes said, I have seen one evil in the world, where princes are those that trek and slaves ride on horses. And he also said that he has seen so many on this face of the earth where they walk like elephants, yet they eat like ants. What a description. And that depicts the church and her position in the nations of the world, where they think that it is wrong for the church to be involved, to engage in what goes on in the nations of the world. When you go back into what we call history of Pentecost or Pentecostal history, you will discover that every time there's a major revival, there's a major outbreak of revival, things will change for the nation. But revival, in most cases, the church will only take on the spiritual aspect of that revival. They will never engage on the political aspect or the governmental aspect. They will not take the revival into government. They will not take revival into the leadership of their nation or their state. So every Saturday, allow me to talk about these things, because I believe all over the world, the church is suffering. The people of the church are now in caves, because for them, only what they know is that we are born again, we are going to heaven. But have you considered there's so many believers that have died and are not yet, fulfilling their purposes on earth? Many believers whose homes have been burnt, many churches that many of them were killed inside the church, and sometimes they will come in, they begin to start from the pastor, and the church people will live in a terrifying situation. They will watch their pastor being slaughtered and murdered. They will look at all their elders being slaughtered and murdered. You look at them, they begin to kill one after the other, unless and except you want to deny Christ. And then they will give you their own scripture, whether it is Quran or it is the book of Buddha or whatever. Have you watched? Have you considered? Have you given attention to the world that we are living in? It is becoming very hostile, and the hostility is not going to stop. I believe that we must have to rise up and begin as Christians to put our state as far as our position is concerned. Raise our stakes in the world that we are living in. And until Jesus comes, we must not shy away from the responsibility of our civic, I would call it civic responsibility. Every child of God that lives upon the earth realm has a responsibility. And for those in the church, we must have to raise our stakes. We must let the people know that we pay taxes, we obey our government, we do whatever the government says. Do you know that government can rise up one day and say no market in this place, can send you trekking for miles and kilometers to where the market is. That is the power that government has. After God, the next most powerful thing is government, besides the church. And the only way that God would have to bring something into this world that will help us is to cause the church to still exist today. And remember, the Bible speaking in the book of Isaiah chapter 9. He said, and this government shall be upon his shoulders. And he said, governors shall come from your midst. If God was not interested in leadership and in governance, God would never have mentioned these things I have said to you. And I'm challenging the church. We should never fold our hands, close our eyes, and tell the devil to go take over and run the whole thing. And if we keep quiet, we are going to be in more terrible state than where we are today. Therefore, Christians, raise your stakes, take your stand, make it known, let people know who you are, and that when it comes to leadership, you are not to bog down. Don't bow, don't give up, don't say, well, my own is to pray. After prayer, what next? After praise and worship, what next? After sharing the grace and you have left the church, what next? The number of days outside of the church, what do you do? We must have to raise our stakes. Let the world know that Christianity is not here just to get people to feel some goose pimples when they are who? Hallelujah. They must begin to know that we must have a say, and whoever that we send to represent us must have to listen to us. We have to get to that point. So for those on radio, be praying for me, because I'm taking this journey to the next level. People from all over the world are watching and are listening. It is important that we understand that this move cannot just be a localized move. It must be global, because our Christianity is a global Christianity. And today, allow me to talk on what I call mentoring in the political arena. Mentoring Christians, mentoring people, mentoring those that we believe must have to begin to come into this place of responsibility. Should their time be out, child of God, listening to me over the radio, you can join me on Facebook. Facebook at CLETUS BASSEY or Destiny International Mission. Whichever one, you will find me right there. Join me there as I continue on this discourse. I will be bringing in other people that will join with me. Sister Grace Etogoren, happy birthday to you. Today is your birthday. I rejoice with you. I pray for you that God will bless you and continue to increase you on every side. Sister Grace Etogoren, today is your birthday. The Lord bless you. All the November people, you people are very pretty. Why? Because my wife was born in November. And there is no controversy over that. So I'm talking on mentorship. And I would like to take my scripture from 1 Samuel chapter number 17, I believe. And if you look at from verse number 55, something happened. And David is coming into seeing the insult of Goliath meted on the children of Israel, the Jews, even including the leader, King Saul. Nobody was able to stand. Nobody was there to raise their stakes. They were all afraid. So they were all just watching this man for days, for almost 1 month. This man has been screaming, who among you that can fight me? Let him come. If I defeat him, then we will. You people will save us. You will save the Philistines. But if he defeats me, then the Philistines shall save you. Can you imagine how one person can raise a stake and challenge God's people and said, I am here. What can you do? I am here. Who do you think you can, take anything, any stand? And so we find this happening from generation to generation. Our generation, the name of the one challenging us may not be Goliath, but Goliath's spirit. That spirit is still there. That stands to challenge God's people, God's covenant people. And the church is God's covenant people. I want you to please tell others that I'm here. Join me on Facebook and on Twitter. Join me on Instagram. Join me on all the handles. I am telling you, this is very, very important. It is a subject that I believe the Church of Jesus Christ must begin to face. For those of you on radio, God bless you. May the Lord keep you and cause his face to shine upon you. Let's see in church tomorrow. God bless you. Now, for those of you on Facebook, I would like for you to tell others to join us. It is very, very pertinent that they join us as we are discussing on this very most important aspect of our faith in God as touching the earth that we are living in today. I want you to know, without any mixing of words, a leader decides how you will live your life on this earth. A leader decides the kind of economy you are to have. A leader decides the kind of policies that you are to obey. A leader decides what comes into your country and what goes out. A leader decides where you should live and where you should not live. A leader decides. You are part of destiny as far as this earth is concerned. So that is why leadership is of essence. It's important. And as I'm speaking today, talking on mentorship, I believe that mentorship is very, very important. So, and I referred you to chapter 17 of the book of 1 Samuel. And I will take from verse number 55, from verse 55 of 1 Samuel chapter 17. And then it reads, Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine. He said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? Whose son is this youth? That was the question. Whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. Does that ring a bell? Whose son is this? It means that the question here is bringing to bear on the fact that before a child will come out at this level, the family should have given him a good exposure or training or audacity to challenge something that every other person is afraid of. It means that this child has been mentored by somebody. So he said, whose son is this? And that is the issue of mentorship. The mentorship issue is not a matter of if it is necessary. It is when. Because when will come that you will have to answer that question, whose son are you? Because everything that you are doing today, whatever thing that you are into today, is determined from where you have come from. Whose son is this? Now, look at the next verse. And the king said, Inquire thou whose son this stripling is. That is what the king said. Even the king himself needed some information about this young man that has come to challenge what has put all of them in the hiding. Because he has never seen this kind of a person before. This young boy coming out challenging the very enemy that is so huge, experienced, and has been in warfare from his youth. And the king of Israel could not even stand to fight him, to resist him, or to say, no, it is, you can't challenge my people, until a young boy arrived from the scene. And he said, whose son is this? Now look at the next verse. It is interesting. Verse 57 of 1 Samuel chapter 17. And as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. Did you hear that? Abner is bringing David, that the question about him has not yet been answered, but David has already produced results. So he brought him to the king. Verse 58. And please, I want you to take note of this. Are you telling somebody about it? Please tell others about it. I mean, be online, tell others. And David said to him, "Whose son art thou, thou young man?" And David answered, "I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite." Did you hear that? The answer finally came. David was not asked of his CV. David was not asked of which army were you trained. David was not asked of which university did you attend. David was not asked of his credentials as per the degree he carried. In fact, he did not even ask him of where he comes from, but he asked him about his father. The place of mentorship springs from fatherhood. One who takes you up, one who trains you, one who puts you in the place and brings out the best out of you, one who, even when you don't believe in yourself, he believes in you. One who, when you make mistakes, he differentiates you, the you, from your mistakes that you have made and shows you your capacity. One who puts you through rigorous moments and believes that there is gold hidden on the inside of you. One who uncaps the cover or what covers you, now expose the talents that have been embellished and the untapped potentials that are within you. One who saw what others did not see and he picked you up. One who did not speak or talk you down, that when others were talking you down, it was always telling you, son, daughter, you can make it. Mentorship. It is very difficult for people to be given responsibilities today in the world, whatever time it could have been, without seeking to know who mentored you. So you see, when Saul was asking David the question is, whose son are you? Are you going to tell me that, as far as this is concerned, that this is the first time that Saul has seen many young people in Israel? I bet you, no. He has seen them. I think you know that as a king, he would sit and see people do dramas, dance, sing, and all of that. They have been there. He has seen many of them. But he never asked this question because the stake that David put out in the event for which Goliath had brought a major challenge to the people, caused David to be noticed. He raised his stake. He stood up for what he believed. He had to stake everything about him, because in himself he had conviction this is the right thing to do. Believers, Church of Jesus Christ, God's people, wherever you are, I want you to understand we must have to raise our stakes when it comes to government or governance. When it comes to those who are making rules and those making laws, when it comes to those who are interpreting the laws for us, the justices, the legislators, the governors, the chairmen of local government areas, the president, the senators, the members of the House of Representatives, we must have to raise our stakes. Now is the time. I believe that God is putting this in me to prepare for people and nations who in the next few months and years may be going into an election. Child of God, you are not here on this earth by mistake. You are not here just to occupy space. You are here to fulfill kingdom mandate. And you have been mandated by God to speak for, on behalf, as an ambassador of God's kingdom. It's something that I believe we have not considered as believers is the fact that we need to submit ourselves to be mentored. Mentorship is a major thing that we as the church must begin to pay attention to. Are we mentoring people to be able to take up leadership from where we are going to start as senior pastors, bishops, archbishops, primates, and whatever you are called, president of the organization? Have you considered who takes over from you? Oh, one thing that I've discovered is that many people believe that they will not die. Oh, I'm always here. I'm still here. They don't believe that they will get old and that they will get tired and they will not always be as efficient and effective as they are today, because age is still on their side. They don't believe that a time will come, age will give in, and the strength of the youth will give away, will move away, will not more be there. So we do not pay attention to the next level of leadership. And sometimes when we are part of what has happened, maybe you help to bring somebody on, and after the person has won, you go back to sleep. You rest. You now think, well, we did it. Oh, we succeeded. But there's more to it. How many years is this person having? Sometimes it could be 4, sometimes 3. But for me, as I said, I would very much prefer that if people are given one time to lead, even if it is 5 years or 6 years, which is too long, but let that person know that it's not coming back. You didn't come to take second exams or a second trial because you failed or you passed. Just finish and go. I think there's need for us to begin to fight for a one-term thing so that people will just concentrate, focus on it, than to always think, oh, I have another term. I have another term. I'm coming back. I will come back. And because of that, the first 3 years, there will be either fighting to stay and then begin renew another level of fight. They will be trying to gather for the next level, for the next term, so that they'll have enough money, enough this, enough that, to continue the next level. But I believe there is need for us to sit back as a people and begin to decide, how do we go from here? So mentorship is very important. Everyone needs a mentor. Don't forget my opening statement. God created this world for his own children. When he created the world, he made man in his own image and he put him here. And he gave him a responsibility to dress it, to work, to take responsibility. And he brought all the animals to him. God did not call those animals the names that we are calling today. Man called them. He gave man responsibility. And he told man to replenish this earth. It's an apostolic grace to replenish. And God has given us prophetic mandate also, so that we can begin to continue people hearing the voice of God and understanding the voice of God and the mind of God over a given situation. So as believers, we must have to understand how to begin to look at this very carefully. Let me say this from the beginning. Your mentor should not necessarily be a Christian. I'm shooting that out now. Your mentor should not necessarily be a Christian as touching political matters. It doesn't have to be. But someone who is successful, someone who has been there, someone who understands what government means, someone who has been in the corridor of power, somebody who has been there and over the years has been able to, sail through and understands what it takes. You don't need a mentor to be a pastor. We think that every pastor should mentor us on everything. No, many pastors don't know too many things. How do you go to a pastor to mentor you for medicine as a medical student? No, he can pray for you unless you want him to teach you how to pray for the sick and heal the sick. How do you go to a pastor to mentor you as, an engineer, road construction, or civil engineer, building of a house, any of those things? No, he is not. He can't mentor you there. How do you go to a pastor to mentor you as touching being a governor or being a local government chairman when himself is not there? No. So it is our place to teach the truth and help you to understand what to do. So mentorship in the place of politics, you need to have somebody who has already been there, one who has the experience, one who understands what it takes to begin to call the shot, when to call the shot, how to call the shot, what to say, how to say it, how to prepare your own portfolio, how to begin to bring about the things you should bring out at different times, to know what the needs of the people are, how to appeal to the minds of the people, how to get the attention of the people, how to sell through as touching the political parties, what happens at party levels, how our parties working. Do you see that when David won and defeated Goliath, somebody had to bring him to the king? Abner brought him to the king. Abner said to the king, "This is the guy that has defeated this enemy for all of us. So Abner brought him. Who is taking you somewhere? Who is introducing you? Can you now understand that recycling will never stop? Why? Because as long as the political leaders at different levels have mentored people over the years, they will always bring back who they have mentored. They're not going to bring you that has not been trained, that have not been taught, that have not been mentored, that have not been exposed. So mentorship does not necessarily have to be somebody who, is a pastor. No, if he's not in that arena, you don't need him to mentor you. You need to have somebody who is already in the corridor of power, or who is a political person that has over the years succeeded. That is why you need to have somebody that will be able to introduce you. So Abner took David, and King Saul asked the question to David, now, whose son are you? David was able to answer for himself now. So there is need for the church people, those who believe they are called into politics, to begin to look for those who are great politicians, people who have been in government, those who have been there before them, and submit to them and learn from them and ask them to help them know how to navigate the waters of politics. You have to get to know that. How do we navigate the waters of politics? How do we navigate that? It is important. So I want you to know that this is something that is very, very important. Very, very important. You have to know it. You have to understand that. You have to see that for yourself, how necessary this is. Abner took David to Saul. And did you see something? Even though David had the head of Goliath in his hands, he still needed somebody to introduce him. Sometimes you can have victories. Sometimes you may be so good. Sometimes you are explicitly just the one that is for the job, but you don't have an Abner. Can you recall in the New Testament that it had to take John the Baptist to mention Jesus to people? That is the Lamb of God that is going to take away the sins of the world. The disciples heard. Do you also remember that it had to take John the Baptist to baptize Jesus? And it was until that baptism took place that the heavens were opened over Jesus. And the Spirit of God came upon his shoulder, came upon him as a dove. The Spirit of God is not a dove, but it came as a dove. That was the form for which the Spirit came upon David. So you now would notice, Jesus, you now would notice there is always a need for somebody to speak for you, to speak about you in certain arenas, especially when it comes to government, politics. You need to have a mentor. Your mentor must be somebody that is known. A mentor must be somebody that has influence in that field. A mentor must be somebody whose voice is respected. A mentor must be somebody whose life is part of what he is teaching you. Not just saying, oh, do it like this, but himself is not doing it. How do you go and ask a farmer who has never known how to play football to come and be the coach of a team? Oh, you are just going to kill the whole team. So it is the coach that will put you through something and then observes you. He will know whether you are good talking. He will know your area of great strength. Then he will be able to draw some kind of a program that will help you to begin to now make yourself available. So it is important that we understand, if you are going into politics as a Christian, or when you go into politics as a Christian, because I want you to, For those of you that are called to look for a mentor, ask questions, spend time, get the books he wants you to read. Read those books. Go back into speeches that great men have made. Have you noticed that every time somebody is on the platform, they would always have to look for somebody that is an older person in politics, an older person in the field to endorse them. Those people being on that platform alone is an endorsement. Why do politicians look for endorsement? Because you need to endorse them for people to know the caliber of people behind this very candidate. And so you are not going to say, oh, I am a Christian, God is with me. One with God is a majority. I don't argue with you that God is with you. I don't argue with you that one with God is a majority. When it comes to politics, you need to know where God is going to take you and where God is going to hand you over to somebody. Look into this. Saul, the first king of Israel, what happened to him? He first met with Samuel, the prophet of God. He first met with Samuel. In meeting with Samuel, Samuel did not announce him in the world. Samuel did not come and begin to say, oh, the king arrived. The king came to my room. Oh, I anointed the king. Oh, the king yesterday ate with the elders. The king this. That would be a big trouble. And I think that as pastors and leaders, we've made that mistake many times, where we are braggadocious. Oh, I anointed this person in my room. Oh, I anointed that person in my church. Oh, I did this, I did that. And that has been our misfortune to a great extent. And we have put ourselves out before people. Do you know Samuel did not do that? Samuel said to Saul, after he had anointed him, he told him, go. But then he called the people. You people want a king. So let's now cast the vote and see who it will fall on. And that is where I want to ask true prophets, that it is needful that we do not use the prophetic grace in us to insult, to abuse, to, inflate into decisions of what people should do. We can pray, we can give support, but let the right things be done. Let the processes take place. I believe that there's need for that. As prophets, there's need for us to begin to go back to God and ask God to know how we should support a candidate. How should we do this? It is important that we know this, so that the name of the Lord will not be put into shame, and that the name of the Lord people will not insult the kingdom or God himself, or assault God's people or the church. It is important that we begin to ask God for a new strategies, how we must have to get out and do things, make things happen. It is important. Most times we expose ourselves. We expose ourselves unnecessarily. We expose our churches, expose our members, expose everything that we have, and the enemy takes advantage of this. So when I am asking us that as Christians, we have to raise our stake, is for us to begin to be involved properly. So mentorship, mentoring is important. David knew how this whole thing happened. Abner, look at Jesus. It was John the Baptist. Look at Paul, the apostle. When Paul had met with the Lord, what did God say to him? He said to him, there's a certain man's house I want you to go to. And I'm going to send you somebody, for already I've shown you to him in his vision, him praying for you. He is coming to pray for you, and he will teach you what you need to know. You see, God himself believes in mentorship. Many of us have broken down, have scattered, and have broken into pieces because we never considered the importance of mentorship as being something that we have to pay attention to. Oh, the hand of the Lord is upon me. Oh, the Spirit of God is upon me. Oh, God has already told me. Oh, God. Don't put God there. Say, I want. Say it. I want to be a governor. I want to be this. I want to be that. I believe God for it. You can tell people, I believe God for it. If God wishes, if it is the will of God, if it is the mind of God, if God so sees me, qualified for this, and you people think that I can lead you, I am here. I am available. There is need for us to begin to look for mentors, church, in this aspect. Prepare our people and get them to understand the importance of having a mentor in this aspect of what we have not really been into before at a certain level. It is important. Mentorship is important. And Saul, even after he had given his life to Christ, he had the encounter. Jesus appeared to him, yet it was Barnabas who took Saul, Paul, to the brethren and introduced him to the church. And the elders received him, even though they had mixed feelings. This man that we have heard what he has done, as he come here to spy our liberty and to begin to cause mayhem for us. But at the same time, somebody introduced him. So it was Barnabas. Barnabas introduced Paul to the church, to the brethren, and they received him. Then they could also pray and release him to go and do the work of the ministry. The same thing is necessary, is important in political arena, in government, in governance, that you need to have people that can say, here he is, there he is. Or is it that all the time people will accept you? No, there are people that people may not accept you. People may not agree with you. People may say, who is this? But you see, even with that, if you have those who still say, well, go ahead, when it gets to a certain point, we will come out. You have to understand that. But be groomed, be prepared, be coached. You must know how to set your goals. You must understand how to begin to deal with things, because I want you to know something, and please hear me. No man celebrates failure. If you fail, people will not celebrate you. No man celebrates failure. Failure has no brother or uncle or sisters. It is success. Can you imagine that when Abner brought David to Saul, what happened? He took him, and from that day, David now lived in Saul's house, in the palace. Well, we know that there were challenges. The king even gave his daughter to David to marry. Even though he was a young man, he was a youth. But because that is what the king said, that whoever kills this guy, I will give him, my daughter. I will make sure that his family will no more pay taxes. David became that man. So he gave David his own daughter, and he exempted David's family from all taxes. So what I'm saying to us today is we must begin to think about mentorship. Who is mentoring you? Do you understand what it means? It says, whose son are you? Whose daughter are you? Who is the person that is showing you the way? How are you going about it? And you must begin to have people that are able to help you set goals for you. And what you must do as you set goals, you must be specific. You must be specific on who you are looking for. You must be specific on setting that goal for what you want to achieve. And your goals must be attainable in life, not just something that you are trying to do. Can you attain this goal? And every goal must be realistic. Can we say that it is realistic? And every goal must be timed. Is this the time? How long will it take us as I begin to set myself and give myself to be mentored for where I am going? It's not something that you start today, you jump out tomorrow. I could recall when Elisha had a servant, Gehazi. And he has seen the master heal people. He has seen all kinds of miracles. But you see, he did not understand timing. He had problem with timing. As one that was being mentored, he did not understand timing. So what happened was that when the master had healed this general who came with so much things, came with money, came with clothes, came with all kinds of things, and said to the prophet of God, I have come to give these things to you. The man said, no, I don't need it. You can take it back. The servant went behind. Gehazi went behind and collected something. Because this is Gehazi who was being mentored but never understood timing. And he did not know that the spirit of his master was with him. Coming back now, standing before the master said, where were you? And he said, Master, I was still here. I was around. He said, but didn't my spirit go with you when you went and asked that man to give you money? You know, sometimes people who want to be mentored don't last long enough to be released, to be blessed, to be presented. Some come out and present themselves. Oh, I am this. I walked with that man. Oh, I am this. If you check the website, you will see me there and my wife. Oh, I am that. But wait a minute. Who are you? Have you been blessed? Have you been released? Have you been, what, your mentorship season, did you finish it? You see, many people don't understand this. So if you want to be successful, if the church must begin to, raise her stakes, we must begin to talk about mentorship. And it is better we begin early, not just about when things are happening, then you just come from nowhere. Oh, I prayed, I fasted, the Lord said. Having said that, I know that we've taken extra time today, about 7 minutes into my time, into what I normally have time for. I want to thank you, and I want you to get ready. Please spread this news that I am saying that Christianity is not a thing of shame. No, it is not what should make us to be afraid or shy away from taking responsibilities in our societies. Time has come. The church must raise her stakes. Once again, thank you. For those of you that are not too sure you want to go to church, I encourage you to go to church. Don't forget, the Supreme Court of the United States of America has said that you cannot restrict people from gathering for worship. So don't have any excuse. Don't be afraid of COVID. Mask, wash your hands, observe social distancing. But never you say, I don't want to go to church. Go to church, enjoy God, and enjoy fellowship. It is important. God bless you. Stay connected. See you in church tomorrow morning. The Lord bless you. Wherever you are in the world, God bless you and keep you and cause his face to shine upon you and give you rest. Shalom. For me and Destiny people, we are always wonderfully made and dignified. We are destined to rule and reign. We are champions because we have the seed of greatness in us. We are champions forever and we serve victory. Shalom. God bless you.
protector, lover of my soul, redeemer, my anchor in the storm. Everything is you, Jesus. You're everything. Everything is you, Jesus. You're everything. Everything is you. That is why my worship is to you. Everything is you. That is why my worship is to you. Everything is you.
I bless the name of the Lord for this wonderful opportunity to have Jesus on the inside of me. Friends, there is no other thing that matters in this life. What is the most important thing for you is to be sure that Jesus dwells right on the inside of you. Try it and you will never have a regret. Put your faith in Jesus.